So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And we are going to record today's panel so that if you tried to watch it but didn't have time for the whole thing, you can catch up on it later. It will be posted on our website within a couple of days. So welcome again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. How today will work is I have some questions for our panelists, but we also want to answer the questions that all of our attendees have. So if you have any questions, please put them in that questions and answer box. You can do that publicly, you can do that privately, whatever is most comfortable for you. And we want to let you know about our international community here at WPI and after WPI. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see all of your faces a little bit better. It's good to see some of you who I haven't seen in a couple of years. And I will start it off with our first question. And I'm going to start, I think, with our two first-year students and just ask you both, what made you choose WPI? Demetrius, you can start. Thanks.
The first thing that made me choose WPI when I was during my college application process was the the size of the international community, and which I'm grateful that I looked for it, because as soon as I came here, and as much as I can remember of, international students are the ones that I can relate with mostly. I still have friends that I met during the international orientation during the summer, and we still talk, we still hang out every day, and yeah, it's this sense of community that is created when you when you're friends with people who are closer to you, culturally speaking.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Shivek, anything to add?
While I was contemplating the decision, I was, I found a lot of researches and ongoing projects which I really liked at WPI. Also, it was really remarked well for computer science and robotics engineering. And on campus, you'll find a lot of people, STEM oriented. So it would be easier to bond with, make connections with professors, with friends, you'll be able to talk about your major, your common classes, and as well as the international community, because that's a huge factor in your life, and that plays an important role to make you comfortable. And there'll be many people from various parts of the world which will expose you to different parts of their experiences, and you'll feel really welcome because of that. And it's a small tight-knit community. There's you'll be able to see everyone daily. It's a small closed community where you can talk to many people. It's not that you won't see familiar faces. You can talk to professors easily. So yeah, something like that really made me come here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Professor Bauteriep, I know faculty often have like a different path to WPI. How did you come to WPI, and what do you like about working with WPI students?
So much like what our international students say all the time, even the faculty is quite international. We have faculty and professors from top-notch universities from all over the world. So I came to WPI by way of Brown University, which is also a really good one. But, I found that I get to work with, all range of student skills and talents. So in the humanities and arts, it's a big department, but we get to have, all students from all majors in our classes. So I get to work with students who are international students, domestic students, and students who have, various ambitions and, talents. So that was a big draw to me. So, while students are interested in STEM, they are also interested in how STEM can impact and improve our society and communities. So, so that is the biggest draw for me to come to WPI.
Yeah, yes, I have heard that from faculty before, so I appreciate it. I think it definitely resonates. And let me ask a fun question to our alumni, and then we'll jump to audience questions, which are starting to come in. So keep typing, audience members. We want to hear more from you. But for my 3 alumni, can you tell me about a happy memory that you have from WPI? What's your best on-campus memory? Whoever unmutes first goes first. Great.
I can go first. I think mine was 2019 international dinner. It was just a normal international dinner, but it was just being with everyone and all my friends and just people performing their like cultural thing on stage with their other friends. It was just very remarkable. And the flag, carrying the flag, it was very like a proud moment, and seeing all the different nationalities, it felt united.
It's funny because that's the first one that popped into my head too, that same year. Because I think we danced together too, right, Elton?
Yeah.
I think so. But it was just a really nice moment because it was my senior year. I got to carry my flag in the flag parade at the International Student Dinner. And then I just walked with a lot of my other friends from other countries. And it was really just a fun experience. And again, like we just did we did a traditional Greek dance together on stage. So that was fun.
I think I would agree. International dinner was probably some of the best memories. And then there's also I think the African Student Association also had their first Touch of Africa my senior year there. So that was also really great. And then definitely international orientation was great. I met most of my friends there and most people that I could relate with and were experiencing the same things I was. So that was a great way to be introduced to WPI as well.
Nice. Well, I'm happy to share that all of those events are still happening. They have happened in modified formats during COVID, but still really important parts of our community to have that international orientation and international dinner a part of our experience here. There is a question about the weather, and we always get this question with international audiences. So the question says, I'm going to modify it a little bit, but it says, can a student coming from a warm or tropical climate adapt to the climate in Massachusetts? Who wants to talk about the weather here?
Maybe I can go first. So if you don't know, I'm from Malaysia, which is so close to the equator. And I've lived in the United States in Worcester for about 20 plus years. It's still a struggle, but it's a beautiful winter season, when we have C and D terms. Yeah. It's still a big adjustment for me every winter, but together as a community, we do fun things together. We have snow days, we go out, we go hiking. I think, but jokes aside, with proper clothing, proper attire, and with an attitude of embracing the snow, I think I've survived all that 20 plus years. So I have students in my classes in C term, and they're complaining about how drastically the weather has changed, over winter break and then into C term. But together as a class, we survived through the different climate change. But it's still very beautiful. I know some of my the students here may have a different perspective on this. But if you're from anywhere, especially from warmer climate countries, you can adapt, you can embrace the cold weather. It's actually quite fun. And it goes away. Spring comes again. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
No, thank you. I appreciate the long-term perspective. Dimitris?
Yeah, actually, I would say my hometown back in Greece is quite cold. It's quite a similar temperature as Worcester. But the problem here in Worcester is that there's this drastic change in temperature from day to day. So we had, and not temperature only, also like weather. You don't know how many times we had to cancel events due to raining or some unexpected weather phenomenon. But it's actually really fun. I can also connect one of my favorite experiences here in WPI. During January, we had a blizzard, and the next day we had a bunch of students from Clark University and Worcester State University that came here, and most of them were outside my dome. And there's this huge hill, and we made a jump on the snow. Everybody brought their snowboard, skis, gliders, whatever, and it was a really good experience. Like you could see all these people, all these students together. Being here it was really nice.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add to that one?
I think the
And
only thing I'll add is, oh, sorry,
No,
you can
go
go
ahead.
first. Okay, I was just gonna say the only thing I would add is just humidity. So it's not just, temperature, but it's also, I come from a very humid climate, and I realized that I was struggling a lot in terms of adapting in the winter time, or like when it started to get colder. So I just invested in like a gallon tank humidifier that I just sleep with religiously every night throughout the winter, and that has helped me. It takes a while to adjust, but you learn to appreciate the seasons, honestly.
And I was gonna say, I had a lot of friends from like warm places, and none of them had. Yes, we had days that we complained that it was really cold, but I don't think they were too cold, if that makes sense. They embraced it super fast, and I even know people who've never seen winter, like snow at all, and they were taking it better than I was. So
All right, great. Thank you all so much. It's hard to think about that now that we've entered spring, but winter is an important consideration. We did get a question that I'm going to go to Shivek on. It's about the meal plans. I would love to hear about the meal plans in general, but the question is specifically about whether the meal plans are suitable for Indian students. And I'm guessing that means if there's some vegetarian options, but I think it would be great to hear about, yeah, all of the different stuff you can do in the dining hall.
So I am from India, and I had a pretty suited palate for Indian foods. And coming here, I thought it would be a challenge, but on a regular basis, you tend to eat at a Morgan Dining Hall, campus center, and the third one is beside the um, founders dorm, and yeah, it's called. I did forget the name of it, but yeah, there's a dining area beside Founders, and there in particular is an option called Chart House, which has recently opened for Indian students, where you get various dishes which were prepared for an Indian palate, like um, to name some, there were curries and you know um, naan breads, other type of dishes. So you'd have fun tasting them. You also have some dishes regularly placed at the Morgan Dining Hall now. So if you regularly have a 19 meal plan or a 14 meal plan, and you have a lot of meals tending towards Morgan Dining Hall, so you won't be worried. You will have still some vegetarian options and Indian options, which they have started to place it on a weekly basis. Like they keep on changing it on a weekly basis. So yeah, you'll also be liking other international foods, which they tend to operate on. Like they again change that we on a weekly basis, other international foods. And then you do have some staple foods like American foods, like pizzas, burgers, fries, something down the line there. So yeah.
Great, thank you. There is another more general question about food. Demetrius, maybe I'll have you answer it. Just what kind of food options are available? And I think Shivek ran through some of them, but can you just talk about your experience from Greece?
Yeah, of course. So there are actually there's a big variety of foods anybody, and I think everybody can find the food he wants to eat. For example, there's a gluten-free options, there's a vegan, vegetarian. There are specific, so if you have an allergy, that many students do here, you can contact the the Chartwell's company. They're in charge of the dining halls, and they will accommodate you. So they're gonna have a special, some special meals just made just for you.
Perfect.
Personally, I never found myself in a place that I wasn't able to find the food I wanted here. There are many options. For example, I live in Founders, and as Vivek said, here in Founders is a resident hall, and at the bottom we have two restaurants. Is the Gold Shot, which is a themed restaurant, changes every term, and we now have the Innovation Kitchen, which is mostly paninis, I think. It opened just a month ago, and there's also Starbucks.
Yep, we have both Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts on
Dunkin',
campus.
and they do accept bonus points, which are in most of the meal plans.
Perfect. We have a question about jobs on campus. I believe almost everybody on this slide has had a job on campus. Amani, I think you listed the most when we were giving introductions. So do you want to talk about, how easy or how hard was it for you to find a job? How much did you work? Talk about that experience.
Yeah, sure. I think for me in the beginning, it was a bit difficult trying to figure out where to go and also which departments actually hired international students. So they weren't like federally funded. So there are a few on campus, like, there is a career development center, there's also admissions, and there may be a few labs that you can work in as well, kind of like either lab assistant or research assistant for some professor. But I found it pretty difficult, to be honest. However, I had another Jamaican student who was a few years ahead of me, and he had a job. So I asked kind of, what that process looked like. So I kind of just leveraged my community that I had. And then there was also a website, I don't remember the name exactly, but they can often direct you to, there's like a website or page on the WPI front where they will list out kind of all the jobs, and it will also list out if it is required that you are like a US citizen or not. So it kind of helps you weed out or like sift out what you can and cannot do. And a lot of times too, I would always see like an international student that I recognize and be like, hey, how did you get that job? And then that's kind of how you can get into things. But yeah, just looking at kind of those places that most international students are working are kind of your best chances. And also working on on campus in the summers was fairly easy. I didn't find that to be very difficult. They're more open to, more departments are more open to international students working on campus, like the pre-collegiate outreach program or the Office of Multicultural Affairs are two places that I worked in, and also like residential services. And then the hours per week, I don't remember how many hours I worked. I just knew I worked a lot, but you can only work up to 20 hours a week as an international student. So you can't do like a 40-hour week. That's also not recommended because that's a full work week anyways. So you can work up to 20 hours a week. But yeah, it was it got easier, I would say, as the years went on to find a job.
Great. Does anybody else want to share anything about on-campus jobs?
Yeah, I had something to say regarding the employers. The good thing that I noticed is that most of them know that there is a need for international students. That they know that international students are looking for jobs. They know that they only can get non-federally funded jobs, and they actually keep these jobs only for international students, and they tend to accept them like accept them more.
Great.
Actually, yeah, even if it's a difficult task to find a non-federally funded job, I'm pretty sure there are employers that are gonna be willing to find you one for you.
Yeah, you
Okay.
know, I think as we have expanded the number of places to eat on campus,
Yeah.
we are hiring more students.
Yeah,
And I
actually,
know,
Zarwells is a play. Only the national students are working in Zarwells, from what I know.
And can I also add
yes,
that, you know, many faculty who have projects on campus are always looking for students to be part of their projects. So if you interact with your professors in class, you can always ask them, if you have a project, I'm available to be part of your project, and you are paid by the hour. So I'm always looking for talented, eager, and motivated students, international students, to be in my project so that I can pay them and they can learn some of the research techniques that we do in our labs or in our projects. So look out, you know, at notice boards when you're on campus, interact with your professors in the classes, and you will find ways to earn some money during the academic year and as well as during the summer terms.
And I just wanted to add that's a great point to note, because had I recognized earlier sooner that I could work in labs and like for a professor, because of kind of what I had planned for even my career path looking ahead, having that additional experience tied to your academic experience can also get you a lot further if you're planning on going to like grad school or wanting to do, you know, like a research fellowship position. It can really go a long way instead of just working, I guess, odd jobs all the time. But that is a good point to mention. You don't have to think about it now, but it's something you can think about as you get further on into your WPI career.
thank you all. We have a question that comes up every year when we do this, and it's an important one. So the question is about safety in and around our campus. And I think safety is subjective, depending on where you're from and what your current environment is. But I would love to hear from anyone on this panel, their thoughts on safety on campus. Demetrius, go ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you. So, first of all, the place I grew up, I would say it's a very safe place. I used to walk around the whole town since I was like 10 years old. And the thing is that when I came here, I wasn't actually expecting to not be able to do that alone by myself. And I had actually an experience during New Year's Eve because I stayed here in Worcester. I had some family friends, and I decided to go downtown. So I took an Uber, went downtown Worcester, celebrated the New Year's, and then decided to go back home alone, which is honestly wasn't the best idea. So walking alone at night outside of campus is not the safest thing to do. It's not a thing. It's not a Worcester thing. Worcester is a huge city. There's always going to be people willing to help you and people willing to harm you too, because yeah, you know. So I would say when you're around campus, it's extremely safe. Not only related to the Worcester area, but also generally speaking, there's a campus police. There are these poles you can. There's these buttons you can press, and then a police officer is going to come for you if you need any help. So yeah, and also the good thing is that campus police is in communication with Worcester police, so you won't have to. Things are not. You know, if something happens, it's gonna be the campus police for on-campus accidents.
Thank you.
And can I add, you know, for all incoming students, including international students, the campus police usually would have an orientation with you. They're very kind, very helpful, and very quick in helping not just faculty, students as well. So you get to know them, and they will give you instructions on how to be safe around campus, you know, when you're outside of campus. So there's a really good orientation. So you get all the information and details from them. But I've never felt insecure or unsafe on campus, and I'm very grateful to the WPI campus police.
I think for me, I come from a very different background. So kind of where I grew up, it's like, well, I grew up in kind of two places, but where I went to school, for example, in Kingston, that's not necessarily a place that I would walk really and truly like by myself. on the road, or not as often like for leisure. It's I'm walking if I need to walk. So coming to Worcester, I remember, people can kind of scare you into like, oh, it's like, a bad city or whatever. But I found it to be kind of the opposite, also just depending on where you're walking and where you're going. Like any city, it has its really great area and it has its really bad area. You learn pretty quickly which area you're probably not going to walk by yourself at night as a woman or whatever. You can pick up on that pretty quickly. And like right now I work in Boston and it's the same thing. I'm not going to walk in certain areas by myself at night, but when I was at WPI, I knew that campus police was always there, and walking even just the perimeter of the school was really comforting because pretty much there's like a blue light system that you'll probably learn more about, where you can really see 1 or 3 within kind of like the periphery of your view. So I always knew that if I am to walk by myself, I try to stay as close to the perimeter of the campus as I can. And then just also like a buddy system, kind of like anywhere else, just, pair up and go places, especially if you're not certain and you're not familiar with the area yet. Definitely have even the number saved as like a speed dial number for campus police or anything. And I think that's just the safest way, and just advice in any city, to be honest.
Thank you so much. I like this next question, and I think there's some good resources that we have at WPI. So the question is about the social climate on campus, and I would love to hear people's thoughts on what that social climate is like. But the question has a couple of follow-ups, which is, what kind of mental health support is there for students? And is there support for students who are neurodivergent? So maybe students who have ADHD or are on the autism spectrum. Professor Boucher, could I start with you on that one? Because I know you've got the faculty perspective.
So we have an excellent Office of Accessibility on campus. So if you reach out to them and you talk to one of the staff working in that office, they will help you with the process. And as a faculty and instructor, I get many emails and letters from that office explaining the needs of a particular student. But I always encourage all students in my class, and if you have a particular learning need, to talk to your professor or instructor, privately, to help us understand how we can support your learning and your success in our classes. But we do have that support, and the Office of Accessibility has wonderful resources and staff who will talk to you when you visit them, or if you email them, or even if you call them, they will help you with that. But we will welcome students with all abilities and students with all accommodation needs, and we provide you with the support that you need to be successful in our classrooms.
Thank you. And actually, Lydia, I'll go with you. We haven't heard from you in a couple of minutes. Tell us about what was the social climate like when you were a student on campus, and then we can get a first-year perspective and see if it's changed or if it's still the same.
I think the social climate was great. To be honest, because there's such a big international community at WPI, there's a lot of communities, including like the international students, ISC community. I don't know if that's what it's still called. But then there's the various, like there's a Hispanic, there's a Society of Engineers. There's a lot of ways to meet a lot of people, not necessarily just in your major. And international orientation and the general body orientation as well is a great way to meet new students. And the faculty are when I was there, faculty was very supportive, and I found it easy to communicate with faculty, my department, and it's really leveraging your resources. And a lot of the information that you're told in orientation, that's where I would pay attention the most. I think you hear a lot about all the clubs, the sororities. There's a big fraternal and sorority life as well at WPI, which also adds a lot to the social climate there. So I think about when I was there, I think about 60 to 70% of the student body was a part of the fraternity and sorority lifestyle as well. So that there's a lot of these opportunities, I think, to meet people. and to build your like social group, not necessarily attached to your like academic lifestyle, but I think it goes hand in hand because it's the same social group that will help you academically as well. And having people around you that understand adds a lot to your lifestyle there.
Great, thank you. Any updates or things that you would add, Shivek or Demetris, about social climate?
Particularly for international students, I would say before your actual school starts, we have something called as ISO, the International Student Orientation, where there is numerous activities and bonding exercises and fun activities like going trekking on a nearby mountain, playing frisbee, playing catch, doing n number of things with your international group, where all of where people have come all around the globe, and that will actually act as more of your social circle for that particular kind of time. And WPI does a great job making a good social circle in the first few weeks, because they eventually help you do the icebreakers with people, and you get to meet more people during the ISO. You get to bond with people, or people with within the same country, maybe some other countries, or people you can relate to, people with the same major. You can make friends for throughout the year, something like that. Also, eventually, once you get into classes, you'll be paired up into groups. You can have that support as well to make friends. You don't have to always get out of the way and try to have the agenda in mind to make friends. You'll always have the opportunity to make friends, either in class, either ISO, or some clubs, or there's events happening every week. So somewhere or the other, you'll have friends or a social circle which will keep you motivated and active throughout your social life. So yeah, something like that.
Great. Okay, we have reached the portion of this event where I can see that there are more questions than we are possibly going to be able to answer. So for the next few questions, I might just take one response on them, but I would love to hear from you. And I'm not sure that anybody knows the answer to this question. Is there a special meal option for Muslim students or students who follow Muslim diet? Is anybody familiar with that?
I think the catering services on campus have a way of preparing meals for students upon request. So if you have a special diet request in a particular kinds of foods that you want, if you put in a request, you will be attended to. Yeah. So that is what WPI tries to do. Yes.
I think that's true. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, for any kind of dietary accommodation that you need, they will work with you. You just have to be the one to let them know what that is, because if they don't know, then they won't be able to help you. But certainly plenty of Muslim students on campus, and there is a Muslim Student Association that's like a club that you can join as well. Next question. Are paid internships available for international students? Elchin, did you do any internships?
Yes, I did. I did it on my sophomore year, the summer of my sophomore year, and we're all allowed to work, like do internships. It's called the work authorization is called CPT, and the government and WPI International House is really helpful with it, and they always have events telling how to apply and fill out any paperwork, and they're always available for you. So it's a great resource. And
where was your internship?
I worked at Dassault Systems.
Nice.
And it was in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Good. Very connected to your major, building your resume. Good job.
Exactly.
All right. There are a couple of questions in the chat about the housing options. So I will share that WPI guarantees housing for your first year, and that students will typically live on campus 1, 2, or 3 years during their time at WPI. with most students having at least one off-campus housing year. Let's start with Demetrius. I know you said you lived in Founders Hall. Can you describe what that living environment is like?
Yeah. So Founders Hall is mostly, I say, first year dorm, as most of them, and it's a suite style dorm. So, for example, my room is we have a living room, we have a fridge provided by WPI and a microwave. We have this living area, and then there's two triples. So we're 6 people living in our. We also have our own bathroom. I know many students complain about having to go to public bathrooms that some dorms have. But yeah, Founders, we have our own bathrooms. And I also know, for example, for next year, I'm gonna be staying in Faraday Hall. It's a dorm. It's a bit far. It's a bit far from campus, not related to the rest of the dorms. Not. It's like 5 minutes walk from campus, and it's the same style, suite style apartment. But people there are provided with an oven, so they can cook their own food, so they don't have to buy a meal plan. So that's why many students choose to go to this kind of suite style apartments. And yeah, I mean, the housing process, I don't know if it has already started for upcoming students. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be finalized during the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you also have many resources to look for roommates. You have Instagram. There's a WPI class of 2026 Instagram account. So you can connect with people from there. There's also the Zimi app, which I use to find my current roommates. And yeah.
Yes. If you're not on the Zimi app, that is kind of some of the alumni might not know what I'm talking about because they all used a Facebook group, but we have moved past Facebook and we are using an app called Zemi, Zeemee. So you've all received emails about it. We'd love to see all our international students on
it's a Discord. It's a kind of like Discord. Which there is also a Discord server for class of 2026.
There are so many options.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Thank you for that kind of housing overview. And I will say all of the residence halls, there's over a dozen residence halls on campus. On our housing website, there are kind of 360-degree views of all of the residence hall rooms. So you can see the difference between something like Demetrius described and something that's maybe a more traditional first-year dorm where there is no bathroom in the room. It's a shared bathroom down the hall. So take a look at the housing website and I think you'll find some more information there. We did have another question about how much money should you think about spending like for fun at WPI? How much money did you spend on non-academic, non-housing, non-living related things? Can anybody give a ballpark of what is like a monthly expenditure? I know it is highly variable depending on your lifestyle.
I tried to give a cost breakdown. So I answered this question privately. I tried to give a rough cost breakdown. But again, it is dependent on your lifestyle. If you're going out to eat, and let's say it's not one of the restaurants that you can use like your bonus points at, you can probably spend anywhere to like $20 for a meal, depending on how expensive the restaurant is, or it could be like $30 per person. I think if you're looking at more nightlife, like, you know, going to like a club scene or a bar, whatever that could be, some of them will have like a $10 cover charge or a $20 cover charge, just depending. It could be that you're going to Boston. You know, I think that train ride to Boston is about $19, I think, but many think, yeah, like a round trip or something like that. But I also know that a lot of things will have student discounts too. So that's kind of what I mentioned. Many events will have discounts or just, you know, could even be free for students, depending on what that is. I remember when we were going for like a nightlife in Worcester, they had a group called Broke College Kids, And it was, as the name suggests, broke college kids trying to have fun. Don't know if it exists anymore, but I'm pretty sure something of the sort exists. So half the parties are probably free, if not maybe $5, maybe 10. 10 would be expensive, but I don't know, inflation, economy, I don't know. But yeah, you shouldn't be spending too much money. Like if you're going for even like a trip to New York, it could be really affordable depending on how you're planning to get there. You can take the plane now, which is obviously more expensive, but it's quicker. Or you could take the bus. And I believe when I was taking the bus, it could cost me like, if I got it on a good day, maybe $30 per trip. And I think it's very doable. I definitely had no money in college. I definitely tried to work for that money, and I think I had a pretty decent social life, but it just depends on you.
Thank you. So I have a question that I know is a sensitive subject, and I want to acknowledge that before I ask it. And I might turn to Professor Boucher-Yip on this one, but WPI has this year in particular had an increase in student deaths, and several of them were reported as suicide. So Professor Boucher-Yip, can you talk about the mental health initiatives on campus and how we are supporting students in their mental health journeys?
Okay, yes. So I think that's a good question, and it's certainly, something that we're all thinking about, students, faculty, staff as well. But the university has put in place many committees, made up of faculty, students, alumni, to look into ways in which we can support students' mental health and well-being. So there's a new Center for Well-being that's set up. There's a new director for the counseling services. So many new resources are provided for our students. But we encourage all our students in my classes, especially if you feel distressed, if you feel, you need additional support, all you need to do is just ask. There's no shame in asking for help. There is no penalty if you say that, you're not able to do anything in our classes or any of the activities you committed to. All you need to do is reach out and ask for help, and help is certainly available. So mental health and students' well-being is really something that we're discussing now. And I think, our incoming students and all the existing students on campus will benefit from the new resources that we are putting in place. So please just ask for help, and including the students that we have now on this panel, and help is available.
Thank you for that. I know it's been a difficult year, and I appreciate your answer and your thoughtfulness in that. I know we're a little bit over time after 11:45, but I'm going to round out with a nice last question that just came in, and I'll direct this towards our international alumni that are on the call. Can you talk about the types of companies that recruit WPI students and what life looks like after graduation? Elchin, we'll start with you.
So after graduation, I actually had a little frustrated moment because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And WPI is using Handshake for job research, and some recruiters can reach out to you. And that's what happened to me. I wasn't know exactly what type of position I wanted to work for. So then a recruiter from Schneider Electric, which is a French company, and being a part of an international company was one of the things I was looking for. When they reached out to me for this development program opportunity, it was a great moment. It had have graduated from the WPI had a big impact on them reaching out to me, because the same company has also reached out to me for other positions as well. And I know other international companies also are seeking a lot of international students. I think it's a great opportunity. And WPI is also a project-based school, so they value that a lot as well. A lot of companies are aware of it, and they appreciate hands-on projects being done during school life is really admirable.
Perfect. Thank you. Lydia, I know you went the graduate school route. Can you just talk a little bit about your decision to go on for your PhD and how you came to that decision?
Yeah, so I actually decided to do my PhD while I was still at WPI. And that was upon the advice of my academic advisor. And that for me, I wanted to do R&D, and it made sense. And the other thing that really added to my decision was also I did a co-op, which is like an extended internship while I was at WPI. And the term system really makes that possible because I didn't have to graduate late, even though I took a term off. And I was able to see what I wanted to do in the internship, and I wanted to pursue higher level R&D. So that really added to my wanting to pursue a PhD after. And I did actually go the industry route for a little bit before I decided, before I applied to go to graduate school. And as also said, there's a lot of opportunities, especially on Handshake. And I did get my first job off of Handshake when I graduated in 2018. And then that graduate application process is actually pretty, it can get intense, but it is, a lot of schools recognize WPI and its name. So it made that process a lot easier. It was easy to have conversations, and our project-based system also make it very attractive in the graduate school space as well, because you have a lot of hands-on experience by the time you graduate. That really contributed to my application process, and definitely the internships that I did as well contributed to that. So it's really a combination of both. And graduate school has also been made easier because of the project-based schooling that we have at WPI. And the work that I do now is very much project-based. So that was also an additional bonus for me, but yeah.
Nice, thank you. Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. And last but not least, Amani, can you talk about your experience kind of having been finding your job after graduation?
Yeah, so I actually have a whole journey. So when I graduated with both my bachelor's and master's. And kind of the decision to get a master's was both because I wanted to learn more, but also kind of strategic where, you know, as an international student, I felt like it could give me that extra leg up over domestic students where, you know, I'm coming out with more qualifications and hopefully more companies would want to, you know, invest that time with me. Unfortunately, I graduated during the pandemic, so those opportunities weren't really there. And it's funny, I think one of the companies I applied to 2 years ago is now just getting back to me. But, you know, just when I graduated, it wasn't the best time at all. So, you know, you kind of just, you know, go with what you're offered. But I got a really good opportunity here at Suffolk Construction. It's definitely not what I majored in, but kind of just throughout the years or months here, I've kind of figured out how I can apply my mechanical engineering knowledge to my current job and just make it fit or suit me. And then kind of with that being said, I've also actually recently accepted a PhD opportunity at Boston University, literally, I think just on Sunday. And I went through that graduation application process, and as Lydia said, like WPI is really recognized. And a lot of that project work really helped me or kind of made up for my lack of industry experience that I don't have that's relevant to my major. But I don't think kind of going outside of my major hurt me in a way because, you know, I did get offers and they were pretty interested in my story and my journey. And for me, that decision just kind of came knowing that the industry I'm in now isn't really research-based. And that's what I really enjoyed the most while I was at WPI, is having that hands-on product innovative experience. And that kind of moved my decision forward, and also realizing or recognizing the trend in, you know, the type of job that I know I want now. And seeing kind of what it takes to get there, especially as an international student. So it's a little bit more work and elbow grease, but you know, you learn to take everything from your piece of like your journey moving forward to apply to that experience.
Okay, I have kept you all too long. I want to say thank you to our panelists. It was great to have the professor perspective, the student perspective, and the alumni perspective, all with this international focus. So thank you so much. We are always available for questions. You can email our international admissions inbox. I am putting it in the chat right now. If you have any questions about WPI or things that we were not able to answer during this panel, I want to again say congratulations to all of our admitted students. We would love to see you here this fall. There are great academic and social opportunities awaiting you at WPI. And we look forward to hearing back from you. Good luck making your college decision. And thank you for the time today, everyone. Bye.